Welcome back to the Outlaw Ranch. Well, today is rinse and repeat day, at least for the most part. We have the rear is pretty well finished here. Everything's mocked into place. Things are welded. So it's time to work on the front. The front isn't exactly like the rear. And the reason is, if you'll remember, these frame rails here, they pinch in towards the center, towards the engine. And so if we come over here, you can see that frame rail bows out as it goes towards the center of the truck. So we can't just hang our plumb bobs down off the frame here and find the place where our lower link mounts will go on the axle. Instead, what we're going to do is we are going to do our darndest to make sure that this hub here is exactly square with the axle. Then we will square the axle, double check, make sure the axle is square underneath the truck. Then we will pull a measurement from the wheel flange here to where the lower link mount should go. On the rear, it was 21 inches. So we're going to try and mimic that on either side, but we've got a little bit of work to do. First, we got to hang this plumb bob that has fallen off here. And the second thing we got to do is just make sure we get this axle square and that the steering is straight. So stand by, folks. Got a little bit of work to do, and we'll get back at it. I don't know if y'all will remember or not, but these are the lower link brackets that go on the axle. And we have to open these up just a little bit. And what happens, we'll see if the camera can pick it up, is these are all cut out on a plasma table. And the plasma table doesn't cut exactly square. It's not a big deal. The parts are top-notch parts. It's just up to you to make sure that they fit. So what I do is I chuck it up in my chop saw here, and I get a good reference to make sure that this is vertical, and then I just square this up basically using the chop saw blade. I haven't found a better way of doing it. You can use a grinder. It's not quite as precise. This is just how I do it. Y'all can come up with whatever way works best for you. This is what works best for me. So we're going to get these opened up, and hopefully we can get something put on the axle. Stand by. All right, y'all. Thought you might like to see just how little we've taken out. You can see where there's the original metal, and you can see that we've taken out only about a half a blade width here out of either side. We just barely shaved it, and all we're trying to do is make that square. These brackets now are a very tight fit on this axle. We still have to remove some of the paint and clean it up, so they are going to loosen up a little bit. So don't get too carried away with trimming your brackets until you have your host material down to its its final dimensions. So just be cautious. Take the minimum. You can always take a little bit more. I was taking like a quarter of a blade width, maybe half a blade width at most, but slow. We only get one chance to make this right, so you owe it to yourself to do the best work you can up front. So stand by. We're going to clean up that axle. We're going to pull some measurements and see where these brackets land. All right, y'all. You'll remember that we had to cut just those little ends off there where it goes over the bead for the two halves of the axle tube. So we got those cut, and we have this tacked in. You can see just how tight we have made our fitment. Now, as a quick double check, what I did, if you remember, these are both front axles. So instead of just relying on this being straight, what I also did was I pulled a measurement here from the center of this down the bead to here. And we came up with, I think it was like 8 or 8.5. That was verified on that other side. So this is going to be the opposite corner, okay, because these axles are flipped around because we have four-wheel steering. So we verified that. Then we took our handy dandy little speed square here, checked for everything was square, straight up and down, side to side, and we put a couple of tacks. Now what I've done is I've come in and I've measured from here, where the tubing will butt up into it, over to the other side. Now, incidentally, with the axle sitting exactly where it is, it was 43 1/2 inches. The rears were 43 3/4. So this is where, you know, I was trying to get this exact, front to back and everything, and it wouldn't really matter a 1/4 inch. In fact, here is my little practice dummy link here. And if we slide it on here, all the way nice and tight, and we come over here, that is the margin of error. See, I can't get you guys zoomed in there. That's it. So about 3/16 to a 1/4 inch. It's very close. I'm going to go ahead and cut my tubing at 43 3/4. If it ends up being too long and we've pushed this front axle too far forward, no big deal. We can trim a little bit extra off. But that's what we're going to do. So we're going to chuck up our tubing over here into the chop saw. We're going to measure it at 43 3/4 to make it exact from front to rear. See what it does to the front end. We'll cut 2 of them that length, so that will push that front axle the same distance forward, and we'll double check with our plumb bobs to our axle tube, and more importantly, where that hub is going to line up in the wheel well. So that's what we're going to do. Stand by. We got a little bit of work to do. All right, here we are. This is the length that we just finished cutting at 43 3/4 to exactly match all 4 of the links that we have on the rear. You can see that it is butted up tight there. Now, we haven't cleaned this up. We haven't beveled it or anything. All we're doing at this point is just checking the fitment, and you can see it's butted up tight there as well. Now, it did push that front axle forward just the slightest amount, but if I come back here and zoom out, you can see that front axle is barely forward, which is going to be okay. The reason it's going to be okay is, if you'll remember, we pushed it back on the rear. We moved these rear fenders back like 3.5 to 4 inches, and I moved them up 1 inch so that this rear axle would kind of still center for the most part in the rear. If you actually look, it looks like the rear axle is pushed just to the rear a little bit, which is fine, because if you look at this fender, you can see there's not much meat on the front, but there's a whole lot of meat here on the rear. So we can trim this fender here a little bit to get that tire recentered. Now in the front, the reason I was wanting to push that front axle forward just a little bit is because of this front bumper. I don't want to get rid of the front bumper. I really like it. A buddy of mine, worked real hard on bending all that tubing and making it like it is. And we have that big worn winch in the front so that we can help ourselves out or help others out, as we've done in the past. So by pushing this front axle forward, that will give us a little bit better approach angle. Not that that's such a big deal so much in the mud, but a little bit here, a little bit there. These little details will start to pay big dividends, and that's what we like. So we're going to keep it where it's at. We'll cut another one the exact same length, 43 3/4, and go from there. So stand by, folks. All right, here we got our other 4 links cut. And again, these are as exact as I know how to make them. When you look down there, it should be like it was one solid cut all the way across. And it's like that on both sides here. We want it to be as perfect as we can. The details matter. If you take care of the little things now, there shouldn't be any big things later. Shouldn't be. But so now the next thing we got to do is we got to prep these links. We're going to take our little random orbital sander, which has been banished to the floor there. We're going to clean up the edges here, then we'll bevel them, and let's get those tube adapters put in. So stand by, folks. We got some more work to do. I'll show you all what it looks like once we get these prepped and ready to go. Okay, we have our other 4 links here. They are just tacked together with our tubing inserts. So everything is mocked together. The next step is we're going to have to ensure that our upper links and everything are going to clear. Since they did on the rear, I think they should on the front. The only thing might be is that we might need to space them apart a little bit. Come out here a little bit more. I'm not real sure. And the reason is just to clear that oil pan. By pushing this front axle forward a little bit, that gave us a little bit more real estate. And this axle should never come up that high, but better safe than sorry. We want to make sure that they clear, whether this axle is articulating or not. Once we get our sway bar put in here, that should eliminate some of the articulation. That sway bar is probably going to go, I don't know, but we got to remove the steering box. We got a lot of other things we got to take care of before we get to that point. But anyways, just a heads up, just be sure that you're getting clearance everywhere where you need to. So we're going to keep working on this. Some more to come. I think I'm going to try and eliminate removing that top hat so many times. On the rear, I think I ended up removing it like 4 or 5 times. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mock my upper tabs into place and everything. Hopefully I can just pull it the one more time, burn in my upper tabs, and burn in this far side over here that we can't really get to too comfortably because we got to come up underneath there. But anyways, that's the game plan, just to remove it the one more time and move the welding around so that we don't warp anything. So stand by, we got more work to do. All right, y'all. We got this other lower link bracket tacked onto the axle so it matches the driver's side. This will be the passenger side. We've taken our Swanson speed square here. We've put it on the axle and we made sure that they were straight up and down and straight this way. So everything is nice and straight. The other thing, you can see there's really no gap there at all. So everything is nice and tight. We've got a lot of power going to these and we don't want those moving. So the other thing, I double checked my measurements from the center chunk here to this outside axle. It was 15 7/8 inches, which is the exact same as it is on the opposite corner of the truck. So everything is the same. We got a little bit more work to do. We're going to try and get these upper link tabs tacked in. And we still have to put those brackets like we have on the rear there, the adjustable link brackets. We got to put them up front here as well. So some more work to come. Stand by. We'll work into it. All right, y'all. We now have our lower links in place, both driver's side and passenger side. We've confirmed that by going from our piece of strap here to our string that we are still centered under the truck forward and backward. If we back off here, let's see, and we try to line those string lines up like that, you can see that that axle is only about 1 inch or so forward. It looks like, if we come straight up, it looks like this would be the center of our tire now, whereas it used to be right here. So we're right at about 1 inch. No big deal there. Next step is kind of a long, drawn-out one here, where we got to try and get these uppers tacked into place and figured out. I'll work into it. That might be a job for tomorrow, though. So we're going to call it here for the night. As always, like, share, comment, and subscribe. I am very grateful to each and every one of you who watches, to the subscribers, to the non-subscribers, anybody that would watch my videos. Thank you so much for doing that. And we're going to catch y'all on the next one.